Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight, 24 hours after a dismal WWE TLC pay-per-view. They follow up with an episode of Monday Night Raw that is full of a lot of really great in-ring action, and one of the things we complain about a lot is that there's not enough wrestling and there's way too much talking, but there was a lot of unnecessary things that happened tonight. That is a prime example of what happens when a company has no idea what to do with the tremendous amount of talent that they employ. And we are going to talk about it all right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Boys and girls, tonight's word is unnecessary. Because TLC as a pay-per-view in and of itself was unnecessary. And most of the things on this night that they did on Monday Night Raw, as far as a creative standpoint and telling stories, was completely unnecessary. I completely appreciate the tremendous amount of wrestling that they had on this show tonight. I know that they're taping 2 shows at once. I know this is the last live Monday Night Raw of the year. And I appreciate the wrestling. So we can't really complain about that. But let's take a look at some of the things that they did tonight. Mainly, what everybody's going to be buzzing about is that Gauntlet Match. That Gauntlet Match was unnecessary. You had 6 guys in there that you had no idea what to do with. So you said, let's just do a Gauntlet Match because that always goes over well. And it did go over pretty well once you got R-Truth and the, hey, look at me, I'm a clown, I don't give a shit, avocado toast gold-plated championship belt out of the way. It was a very good Gauntlet Match. It was 1/3 of Monday Night Raw. But then this Gauntlet Match had no winner. You promoted this thing as the way we are going to get the new #1 contender for the United States Championship facing Rey Mysterio. And you gave us nothing. And while I was initially going to forgive all of that nonsense because it could essentially lead to a triple threat featuring Andrade and Humberto and the champion Rey Mysterio, possibly at the Royal Rumble, which would be the right way to do it, that's not at all what's happening, as Seth Rollins, while he is much more digestible in his heel form, has been thrust into a situation that seemingly is nonsensical. This guy has, as he's like to tell us right now, he's beaten Brock Lesnar twice. He's been the Universal Champion twice. He's been a WWE Heavyweight Champion. And now he wants the United States title, and that's because Brock Lesnar don't want to come to work. They were in Minnesota last night. They were in the man's backyard. He didn't even want to come to say hello and show us, hey, look, remember this belt that I got? This Gauntlet Match is an example of what happens when you don't know what to do with your talent. You know what happens when you do know what to do with your talent? You end up like the New Orleans Saints. Now, I'm not a New Orleans Saints fan. And this isn't a football channel, but this is a great metaphor for what the WWE needs to do. Because you see, Drew Brees tonight on Monday Night Football, he surpassed the all-time. He is now the new all-time passing touchdown pass holder in NFL history. He went past Peyton Manning. He is now the all-time NFL passing record holder. He went 29 for 30 tonight. And this isn't just happening because Drew Brees is a badass quarterback. This is happening because the New Orleans Saints as an organization surround him with other talented individuals. The guys calling the plays and making the show, so to speak, know how to effectively use and place their talent in a way and call plays that make sense, that make everything successful. And it makes the fans cheer. And they have a good time. And they do things like have history-making moments like they had tonight. Which is why you have the New Orleans Saints at 11-3 this season. Which is why they are consistently very good. And while they may not always win the Super Bowl, they are always at the top of their division. They are always contenders. And that's because their organization takes things seriously and they do things that make sense. WWE doesn't do that. They should be like the New Orleans Saints. You got Seth Rollins as your quarterback for Monday Night Raw. He's surrounded by talent. But you want to waste everybody in a gauntlet match instead of doing something unique, something that would be more beneficial to the show, like having 2 or 3 separate singles matches that don't have to be connected. We could have seen Matt Hardy versus Ricochet tonight. We could have seen Humberto versus R-Truth. It doesn't matter. You could have done something different. R-Truth is a terrible example, but you get what I'm trying to say. Instead of cramming them all into one matchup because you don't know how to come up with a new number 1 contender anymore, you could have started something here. Why do we have to have a number 1 contender right now anyway? What are we building towards? We're building towards the Royal Rumble as far as I know, and that's what, like 6 weeks away? We need to have some big end of the year show next week that they're going to film something tonight for? No. Does it matter? No. And at the end of it all, this gauntlet match was all for nothing. It was all for nothing. Unnecessary. What else was unnecessary? The Poop Hammer segment of the evening, which I'm so sick and tired of even giving this milk dud and his Barbie doll this Poop Hammer, but it seems like I didn't mean to go to that screen, but hey, since we're here, why don't you guys don't forget to pick up your Poop Hammer t-shirts. You don't have to always think of it as a negative thing. The Poop Hammer is awesome. It is our weapon. It is what we bash everybody in the head with, just like Lana and Rusev and Lashley, who just destroy our wrestling experience every time they come on the screen. You could own that very Poop Hammer and wear it proudly on your chest. Go to bonfire.com/store/sledgehammer-tv right now. Get your Sledgehammer TV logo t-shirt if you so desire, or be one of the proud members to sport the Poop Hammer and show the world where your loyalties lie here at Sledgehammer TV. That was just an erroneous click. It was an erroneous click. I didn't mean to go to do the ad bump, but thank you for bearing with all that. And don't forget to get your t-shirts. If you're in the market for a cool shirt, there are 2 for you to show your support for this channel. You could also just leave a thumbs up. That's fine. You could leave a comment and share this video. And of course, if you're having fun so far, subscribe. And I'll ask you guys to do all those things at the end like we normally do. But we got kind of thrown off by that erroneous click. But anyway, let's get back to this erroneous click of a show, which was Monday Night Raw. What else was unnecessary? Well, we were talking about the engagement of Boring Trashley, the almighty milk dud Bobby Lashley, and Lana, the woman that just needs to leave pro wrestling. She adds nothing to the show but a reason to turn it off. I don't give a shit how hot you look. You could come out wearing absolutely nothing. You could come out with hands painted on your boobs like Sable did back in the Attitude Era. You can come out in a thong and a piece of dental floss. I don't care. I don't need to see that. By the way, I'm a married man, and I have a woman that's much hotter than Lana, in my opinion, so I don't need to see her dancing around in the ring, pretending to be in love with a man that she is not in love with, sacrificing her marriage for a dramatic storyline because wrestling's gotta be soap opera. And this is the one angle, if there was one, and I mean there's a couple of angles in pro wrestling that I absolutely just despise. But if there was one I would get rid of right now, it would definitely be this, because I would spare us from having this wedding. We are going to have a wedding, and we're not supposed to know that Rusev isn't going to bust this thing up. And this is just going to extend this thing longer and longer because it gives Vince McMahon a hard-on. This is good shit. This is such good shit. No, man. No, it is not. All it is shit, which is why it deserves the Poop Hammer every time it graces my screen. If it died tomorrow, it wouldn't be quick enough. We don't need to see this shit anymore. It is the most uninteresting, unappealing thing they got going, yet it's their favorite thing to do, and they always want to give it so much time. For Lana to say the same lines 6 and 7 and 8 times over. That's a hard pass for me. Unnecessary. What else is unnecessary? Eric Rowan and his stupid little box. Unnecessary. To have him come out and beat some guy who's 1/3 his size. He looked like he was wrestling his leg with a mop on top of it. This was retarded. This is Eric Rowan, and not that that name's supposed to really strike fear into your heart, but when you think about Eric Rowan, what do you think about? You think about the Wyatt family. You think about how they dominated when they came up. All of the people he's already been in the ring with. He's wrestled the likes of The Shield constantly. He's wrestled Braun Strowman. He's wrestled some of the biggest and baddest of the bad. And I'm supposed to be impressed because he's walking around with a box with a towel on it. And he's beating up this little guy half his size. That's supposed to get me back interested in him and his bald head and his stupid beard. There's nothing interesting about this. And by the time they reveal whatever the fuck is inside that box, it's not going to go over. And I'm not going to care. What's going to be in there? A weasel? What's it going to have? A little pet duck? It's going to be a little bunny in there? What's it going to be? Luke Harper's old outfit? Maybe he shaved his beard before he left. It's going to be a little Luke Harper hairball? Whatever it is, it's not going to pop with the crowd. It's not going to be worth the payoff. Especially when it's attached already to a guy that just on his own is just so bland, and you're giving me no reason to care. In fact, he is another reason that you are giving me to turn away. Until you start putting him in there with decent competition, and still you start developing real storylines or something to grab onto, make him do something. Talking is not his thing. Do something. Beat people up in the back. Show him torturing somebody with the cloak open on the box. I don't know. Be creative. That's why you're supposed to be a creative team. But you're lazy. And you're uninspired. And I don't know how to fix it. And it's because of those things that we have another unnecessary moment on the night. The debut of a little-known talent from NXT, Deonna Purrazzo, who, if you watch the Mae Young Classic, you are familiar with that name. But otherwise, I'm not even sure if she's shown up on NXT TV just yet. But for what reason does the crowd have to want to be invested in Deonna Purrazzo? She wasn't making her Raw debut if you were listening to the announce team. If you were listening to the announce team, she was clearly somebody from NXT. So now that Survivor Series is over, what the hell is NXT even doing on this shit show Monday Night Raw? And while, again, I appreciate the matchup she had, it was a decent match with Asuka. The crowd didn't give two shits because you just put them into a stupor with an hour-long gauntlet match that went nowhere and did nothing by the time it was said and done, that they didn't have anything left to give a shit about. But what did you give them to care about? Seeing Asuka just wrestle? You might as well have just put her in there with a jobber from nowhere. The crowd would have gave just as much of a shit. Because they really didn't care too much. And whose fault is that? Have we seen a hype package for Deonna Purrazzo? Have we even heard that name in NXT recently? If you're watching both shows, has she been on NXT on USA? Not to my knowledge, not that I can remember, but here she is. Fighting Asuka, one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions, because they had this match last night that nearly killed Kairi Sane. So now she's a non-entity. And you gotta believe that this is not whatever it is they had planned, but if this was your backup plan, let's just call up someone from NXT and squash them. Oh, Vince, I don't want that to happen to one of my girls. Triple H, don't worry. We're gonna give the win to Asuka. Okay, Dad. I imagine the conversation went something like that. This show is fucking ridiculous. And one more thing on the unnecessary list that we gotta throw out there is Jerry the King Lawler. I used to love Jerry the King Lawler. He was a perfect fit in the Attitude Era. He was all about the puppies, and he had these really cool, like, one-liners. Some of them, even back then, were a little bit dated, but still, he used to play off well with JR. He used to play off really well with Vince, and it was a really great dynamic. And what we got going on with the King right now is a man who's trying to be that guy in a time where you're not supposed to be being that guy anymore. And his obsession with everybody's relationships and the way it's not playing anymore the way it used to. The guy's all over the place for the most part. He's trying his damnedest, but much like JR on the other show, it's almost like maybe it's time you guys just step it back. I love them both to death, but sometimes you have to know when enough is enough, and most especially since the addition of Samoa Joe. Once Samoa Joe came around, I think he and Vic Joseph have a great chemistry and a great flow between them, and their voices are so opposite that it just kind of works. It's almost like musical in a way, because you got Vic Joseph with the high-pitched, straight man, and then you got Samoa Joe with that deep baritone voice who's kind of heel but still gives you some really good analysis, and it was a great pairing. And then you got the King just popping in there, just throwing things off, feeling out of place. His voice is almost as jarring as half of the content this company produces on its own. Oh man, so now that we got all of that out of our system, let's get through talking about this show. I do appreciate the new Seth Rollins, like we had pointed out earlier, and what he did tonight with the AOP is pretty much what I expected him to do. He was going to come out and shit all over the fans. He shit all over the roster. He said he wanted to be a leader. He's going to continue to be a leader, and he's got AOP. The one thing I want to criticize him on, though, is how he started off his whole promo saying, oh, the AOP decided to choose the right side of the battle. And history states, if you just go back just 1 week, they didn't pick you for shit. You went to them, according to your words. Now, if this is all a lie, and this entire thing was a facade and was a master plan by Evil Seth, then fine. But that is certainly not the way you played it off last week. You said, I had nothing to do with what the AOP did to Kevin Owens. You stood by your statement, and then you went to them, because you didn't want them to do that to you, obviously. So you went to them and was like, hey, I'm going to just join up with you guys. Everybody thinks I'm with you guys anyway, so I'm just going to come along for the ride. And they probably didn't even say 2 words, and they were just standing there in their suit. And now they just got this little guy following them around, and they're all right with it. That's what I think has happened here. Nevertheless, it's not bad. It's not bad. And Seth Rollins in the heel persona is, much like we say about guys like Randy Orton and Samoa Joe, the heel version is the better version. And while this is going to make him not nearly as nauseating, what he would end up doing before the night is over, really, while it does, his motivations for the attack make sense, the championship that he is now has his sights on, I just don't like when they do that. You can't be world champion and then be satisfied by being the United States champion. It's just kind of stupid, isn't it? Even the Intercontinental Championship, as great as it was. Remember when Daniel Bryan finally won the WWE title at WrestleMania 30, the Yes Movement at its height, and it finally hit the pinnacle, and he won that championship, and then he had to relinquish it, and then he came back, and he won the Intercontinental title in that ladder match, and did it feel as great? No. Did it make him as happy? No. So, like, why would they do these things? When you're a main eventer and you challenge for world titles, that should be where you're at. You should be calling out Brock Lesnar right now. Brock Lesnar can come back and he'll end up being the babyface. People will cheer him just because he's against you. Brock Lesnar will have to go through the AOP. They can do so much interesting stuff here, but instead they are setting Seth Rollins' sights on the United States Championship and Rey Mysterio. Unnecessary and wrong. So everything he had to say at the beginning of the show was fine, pointing out that Kevin Owens needed to be made an example of to show everybody that if you don't fall in line, this is what he is going to do to them. He is going to drag all of us into 2020 with him, and the AOP is going to take care of it if any one of us resists. He then promised that he was going to settle a score tonight, but we're not going to like it. So he apologized in advance and walked off with his two heavies, and fine. I was actually interested for once because I wasn't sure where they were going to go with it. I didn't think they were going to go to Mysterio. Unfortunately, that would be the case as we get down the line. We had something else unnecessary that I forgot to put on the list. The unnecessary defeat of the Raw Tag Team Champions by the OC tonight. 24 hours after the OC was embarrassed by being put through a Kentucky Fried Chicken table after a double count-out decision, you got the OC beating the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders, who are the champions, which, if you're a longtime fan of this show, you know that is one of the most cardinal sins to me that you could ever do. You do not pin your champions to establish their new challengers. Champions should be made to look dominant. They should be protected until the moment it is supposed to be when they lose the championship. That's how you do it. But that's not how you do it in the WWE. Oh no, not at all. This match was almost a carbon copy of what we seen last night. It was a non-title match, so you almost knew the OC was going to win. And I'm watching this whole thing thinking, this is all ass backwards. This is kind of what you would have wanted to do immediately following the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. When the OC got that win over the Viking Raiders, then they could immediately have been in the thorn in their side. We're the best tag team in the world. And then over the course of the next couple of weeks, the two teams keeps getting in each other's shit. They have a match that ends in a double count out, which leads to a culmination that should have happened last night at TLC with the two teams going to war for the tag team championships in a tables, ladders, and chairs match instead of Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin. That's how you should have done all this. Instead, we've seen these guys wrestle 7 or 8 times. Each time they've wrestled, it hasn't really meant shit. The Viking Warriors, Raiders have an impeccable record against all of the jobbers and the little Chicago Cub dress-up people and everybody else that they've wanted to throw at them. But they have lost now twice to the OC. So now we're supposed to move forward and give a shit. The Viking Raiders will get their redemption when? 6 weeks from now at the Royal Rumble? How are they going to book this for the next 6 weeks? They're going to give the fucking OC the championships and then have the Viking Raiders win it back at the Royal Rumble? They are so confused. They are just confused as I am as to why I even still watch this crap. I swear to God, if I didn't have this show and I didn't have so much fun talking about this shit with you guys, I wouldn't watch this shit either. So I don't blame any of you guys that come to me and tell me, oh, we don't watch anymore. We just come to watch and see what you have to say. And I think I do a pretty good job of keeping you guys a hell of a lot more entertained than Monday Night Raw does. And if you agree with that statement, you could hit that thumbs up right now. So this match was retarded. It was unnecessary. The OC defeated the Raw Tag Team Champions. And on we went. Let's see. After this, we came back from the break. And we seen AJ Styles and the OC celebrating in the back like a bunch of kids. AJ promised he was going to defeat Randy Orton later tonight. He told them he wanted them to stay in the back because he's going to defeat Randy Orton all on his own. And I was like, fine, good, great, I appreciate that. Randy Orton versus AJ Styles one-on-one. That doesn't, just because he said that doesn't mean they're not going to come out. You know that. You all knew that. But still, we could see how long it was going to go before all of that shit would end up happening. Eric Rowan defeated Dante Leone. At least this week, this guy had a freaking name. I don't know if they even said it because I stopped watching. It was so unimportant and so unnecessary. I just waited to hear the bell ring so I could look up and see if he was going to reveal what's in the box. But he didn't. So nobody cares. Charlie Caruso once again is interviewing Andrade in the back, and Andrade wants to answer in complete and total Spanish. So I have no idea what he said. I still have no idea why he's so angry with Humberto Carrillo, other than the fact that he's beaten his ass the last 2 times they fought each other. I don't know where the future is going with the Zelina Vega thing, and I don't really want them to break up. We talked about what I would do on last night's TLC review, what we would do if they were going to break up Zelina Vega, the only thing I would do. But other than that, seems like Zelina Vega and Andrade might be back on track, and maybe all of this was mind games to try to get into the head of Humberto before the night was through. We seen a Liv Morgan vignette, which the jury's still out on, because I need to see what the transformation is. She says she has to destroy herself to free herself. And now she's going to be the real Liv Morgan and let the real Liv Morgan out. Great. I'll let you know what I think about all this when you show me. The Bobby Lashley-Lana celebration. Here's all you need to know. Lana asked Bobby Lashley to ask her to marry him. And now I'm sitting here thinking that whoever writes this shit in the WWE really don't know how to write. Last week we had the Kabuki Warriors challenging Charlotte and Becky to challenge them for their titles. We challenge you to challenge us for our championships, which is not how it works. All they had to say is we're challenging you to face us for our titles. And whether or not that was a slip of the tongue by Asuka or it was the way it was written, either way it came off incorrectly. And now this, I don't know if this is just some feminist bullshit agenda that they want to make her look powerful by having her be the one to want to ask him to ask her, or if it's just really bad writing. Because who does that? I want you to ask me to marry you. What? And first of all, every girl in a relationship probably wants that. Everybody wants to be married, so everybody wants their other to ask them to marry them. So that's kind of the point, right? But by you having the ring and asking him to ask you right then and there, makes it even more ridiculous. And that's about as far into this as we are going to get, because I don't give a shit. The crowd, I'm disappointed in the crowds, because they end up booing and playing along with this shit. And we start getting Bobby sucks chants, and all you should be chanting is this is awful, or this is stupid, or we want refunds, next match please, skip this segment. That would be a great chant. Skip this segment. Come on, man. Protest. Don't just sit there and chant CM Punk when you're mad. Tell them how you feel. This is the opportune time to do such. But instead they want to play along. They want to boo. Who cares? We got to see them kiss after Bobby Lashley asked her to marry him. And now we're going to get to see an unnecessary wedding sometime in our future. Fan-freaking-tastic. The Gauntlet Match begins. Akira Tozawa defeated R-Truth. What R-Truth is doing in there, I don't know. What Akira Tozawa is doing in this match, I don't know. When you take into consideration that 4 of these guys in this 6-man matchup haven't won a match in weeks. 5 out of the 6 of them are baby faces, with the one heel only being Andrade, which kind of made me feel like he was the only one that was going to win this match by the time it was over anyway. And then you factor in just the randomness of, whoever wins this match of pretty much losers is going to get a championship opportunity, and I want to know what planet do these rules exist in, because then maybe I can actually win a whole lot more than I do in life. Find me that drink that they're drinking, or whatever it is that makes losing be the thing that propels your success without you having to try to overcome being a loser, without trying to prove that you're not a loser. But that's this whole gauntlet match almost takes steps to doing just that, because when you see the quality of the match, once the R-Truth and the 24/7 title bullshit was out of the way, and we got to the real matches, which were not there for comedy purposes, we seen Ricochet and Akira Tozawa tear it up in the open of this thing, and they did a great job, and I don't understand why we don't see more stuff like this. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, if this was just a singles match that wasn't necessarily part of this gauntlet match that they were using to tell a story between Ricochet and Tozawa, maybe they are friends and maybe they're having this mutual, let's just see who's better thing, which then develops into a bitter hatred. And you could build on that leading into the Royal Rumble. But instead, it's just a randomly thrown together gauntlet match. Ricochet goes on to defeat Matt Hardy, and there's a couple of things we could say here. First of all, Matt Hardy has been losing consistently, and I think his only purpose in this gauntlet match was to lose so that he could continue to go down whatever crazy path it is he's got cooking in his head. If you're following Matt Hardy, you're seeing he's bringing back up the woken stuff, he's bringing back up the broken stuff, and we might be in for something in the near future. I was a little bit confused as to why he came out to the Hardy Boys original music and not to his own crazy Matt Hardy music, which I enjoy much more, but it is what it is. But when Matt Hardy was eliminated from this thing, the entire wind was sucked out of the arena. It's almost like the crowd, once Matt Hardy was in this thing, had put all their eggs in the basket of the broken one. And then when he lost, it was just like, shit, we don't care anymore. That's the best way I could put it, because the crowd was there. The crowd was alive for the first half of this show. I don't know what they were excited for the most part, except for most of the action going on in the gauntlet match. Before that, I don't know what they were getting involved with Lashley and Lana and all that shit for. But this pretty much exhausted them and took them out of it, and it was hard for them to get back into the show, and they were just kind of in and out for the rest of the show. Unlike last night's crowd in Minneapolis, the hotbed wrestling town, where everybody was there to take a nap. But again, what if we seen tonight Ricochet versus Matt Hardy in a one-on-one situation instead of Ricochet versus Tozawa? And then you could have had Tozawa take on Humberto Carrillo. And spread it out and make it meaningful and put some emphasis on the why. Because if we don't know why they're fighting, then it doesn't matter. Here, you just did the basic, we're going to give them a shot at the championship. And now we watched for an hour as Matt Hardy got defeated by Ricochet, and then Humberto Carrillo defeats Ricochet when he comes out to move on to the final opponent being Andrade. Surprise! Surprise! And now you're thinking, we're going to get a rematch, only for Andrade to be a sneaky bastard, sneak him up from behind, and bash his brains out, sending him to the outside, and then eliminating him with a hammerlock DDT to the exposed concrete floor. Which means now this match is over. Which means we don't have a winner because this match didn't begin. And here's something else that I hate about that gauntlet match and the way that they do gauntlet matches now, because the ever-important commercial breaks need to rear their ugly head. A gauntlet match should just flow. Once the one guy is pinned, the next guy comes out, like the Royal Rumble, and the match just continues. There shouldn't be no fucking break for Ricochet or Humberto or whoever in between while their opponent comes out with their music going and they're waving to the crowd and dancing around and, yeah, I'm in this match, everybody watch me as I walk and I take my time so that I give him time to breathe and no, man, it's supposed to be boom, 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 boom. That's the impressive part about it. the endurance nature, the Iron Man nature of it all. There's no fucking rests in an Iron Man match. You're supposed to just go. As soon as that music hits, you're supposed to run to the ring. 30 seconds. That guy just had a match. He's getting beat down. You're supposed to get your ass down there and take advantage of the situation as fast as possible. Not be going, oh yeah, here I am. I'm Umberto. I'm wearing my thing and I got no... So that we can go to commercial break. And then we come back from commercial break and the match didn't even begin yet. And that's how you know that I'm right. Because if this was a true gauntlet match, that match should have just begun. As soon as that guy hit the ring, boom, action begins. Now, essentially, the two of them, once Humberto Carrillo and everybody else throughout this thing, once they got to the ring, they had to sit there and wait. And stare at their opponent until it was time to come back. That's an impressive gauntlet match, right? The rules, anyway, are screwed up because WWE don't even know how to do their own gimmick matches. But that's a minor criticism. The minor criticism. Everything I've said in this video has been a minor criticism. But it was a great, entertaining matchup. The Ricochet Humberto Carrillo portion of this thing went on too long. They definitely should have divided the time up between these matches a little bit more evenly because they just seemed to be fighting forever. And the longer it went, the only thing I got in the back of my mind is we still got one more match to go. And it's going to be with Andrade, which is not going to just be a 1-2-3 ordeal. Ricochet lasted 3 matches. Humberto would now only be wrestling in his second match versus Andrade. They could be wrestling forever because this Humberto kid doesn't want to die. That's not the way they decided to go about things, as the finish would just see nobody win, which left everybody in an interesting state of mind. So immediately, this thing becomes about somebody else. Humberto Carrillo, when we come back, is being wheeled out on a stretcher. And Seth Rollins' music hits and the AOP comes out. He's got the pipe. Rey Mysterio's pipe. And he's approaching Rey Mysterio, who had come out to check on the status of his fallen little Latin buddy, Humberto Carrillo. And because of this, he gets beaten down by Seth Rollins and the AOP. And after he did this, Charlie Caruso stops him in the back and she's wanting to know why. And he explained that he's a leader, he leads by example, and this is the example he wants to set. And the real question is, why didn't he put Rey Mysterio in the hospital? And the answer to that question is because next week on Raw, he wants a shot at the United States Championship. Because Brock Lesnar don't want to come to work anymore. And there's only one championship on the show. So the biggest stars got to go after it. Not like you could build Seth Rollins in any other way. Does he have to have a title belt around his waist? No. You could build him as just like a terrorist type of guy. Just wreaking havoc on Monday Night Raw until Kevin Owens comes back. Or Brock Lesnar decides to come back. Somebody. Because the rest of it just doesn't make sense. Are you really that excited to see Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio? Do you not already kind of know that Seth Rollins is going to end the year with the United States Championship around his waist now? Because that's the only thing I could feel happening. And it seems forced and unnecessary. The word of the evening. Unnecessary. As unnecessary as having the virtuoso Deonna Purrazzo show up tonight just to suck up a loss from Asuka with no fanfare. Not much about it to be made by anybody. The commentary team purposely made sure you knew that she's from NXT. And the match wasn't too bad. But like I said at the open, the crowd didn't give a shit. And at the end of the day, it didn't really mean anything. How impressive is it for Asuka to be defeating Deonna Purrazzo? This is a woman who's a former heavyweight champion, a former women's champion in her own right. multiple times in NXT and in the SmackDown division for the women. It's just, I don't get it. It's random and it's unnecessary. Charlie Caruso sat down with an exclusive interview with the Raw Women's Champion, Becky Lynch, and while I did enjoy the direction they were taking Becky Lynch, and hopefully it stays far away from Charlotte Flair, I am somewhat reminded of when she kind of did this after or leading up to WrestleMania, when she was trying to hype herself up and she's just like, I need this, and it was kind of almost like the same message, because she feels the need to prove herself. But I liked this. I liked this from Becky Lynch. I like that they're going to focus on this as a priority feud. As long as they don't start involving other people, then I'm going to be alright with this. Becky Lynch versus Asuka should have already been a long-standing singles feud, but it has not been highlighted in such a way. We are going to have to get Asuka away from the tag team championship belts. Somehow my vote is for Fire and Desire right now. They're the only other female tag team that would make any type of sense. They are an actual team. They have a whole thing about them, and it's fine until you figure out what the hell else you're going to do, because who else are you going to put it on? Sasha and Bayley? You don't want to stifle them with these women's tag team championships again, so just let it be and let it branch off and let Asuka go her own way. Maybe you send Kyrie back down to NXT and just leave everything as it is. Once you do that, it should be fine then. But this was okay. This was a decent promo for her. She says she's doing this for herself. She's not doing this for the company. She's not doing this for Asuka, and she's determined to prove that she still is the man. We then go to the back and we see Rey Mysterio, who talked about Andrade's actions when he attacked the rising Latino star, Humberto Carrillo. And then he immediately started talking about Seth Rollins and says he accepts his challenge for next week, which means next week on Monday Night Raw we will have a new United States champion. Unless the giant baby man Dominic jumps out of the crowd and maybe helps his dad, but I think the AOP will be there to stop him. So maybe it'll be better if you stay out of Tiny Dad's business this time, giant baby son. The main event of this evening featured Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. Randy Orton defeated AJ Styles, and my biggest problem with this matchup is the finish. It made AJ Styles look like a fucking idiot. AJ Styles went to go for the phenomenal forearm at the finish of this matchup, and he seen Randy Orton was about to see it coming, and he telegraphed an RKO from out of nowhere. So if you're about to do that move and you know that he's aware enough to reverse it the first time, why would you follow it up with the same move again, only to be hit with an RKO like an idiot anyway, and then end up having your shoulders pinned to the mat? What has the OC done for AJ Styles? When AJ Styles was on SmackDown, he was the heavyweight champion of the world. He was putting on high-quality matchups. He was building the house that AJ Styles built, and it might have been cringy at times, but at least the guy was winning, for the most part. They put him back with his running buddies Gallows and Anderson. They gave him a fancy little nickname. It's a stupid one. It's way too long. The original, the orange, the Oklahoman, the Octopusum, the only club that matters. It's a stupid fucking name, the OC, which is another stupid name, which reminds me of a really bad TV show from the early 2000s. And all they've done is lose. And now look at Gallows and Anderson getting world championship opportunities, being called the best tag team in the world. The only thing they're the best at is looking up at the lights and shining bald heads and making jokes about AJ Styles' hair and saying the word mother lover. That's what they're the best at. So other than that, we can also say I don't understand why they would give Randy Orton the win here regardless. It doesn't matter to any of us because at the end of the day, this match was only booked so that they could book a follow-up match being everybody's favorite thing, the one thing we actually didn't see tonight on the show, which was fantastic, but a 6-man tag is coming our way because the OC, of course, had to come out and help out AJ Styles, which prompted the Viking Raider, Warrior Raider Raiders to come out and want to help Randy Orton, and now we have the Viper Randy Orton, the villainous Viper Randy Orton, who is going to be going, I guess, side by side with the babyface Viking Raider, Warrior Raider Raiders, going up against the evil heel faction of the OC. 6-man tag next week. Mark my words. You can know that you heard it here first. And that's pretty much all you need to know about tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. After the match, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows jumped Randy Orton. The Viking Warrior Raider Raiders ran out for the save. The OC overpowered them and beat down the babyfaces, giving the heels the advantage as Raw went off the air. For a brief second, Monday Night Raw cut off because for the first time since they went to that 11 o'clock strict time limit, Monday Night Raw went over on the live broadcast and ended at almost 11:05. I don't know why that happened. I don't know if that was a technical thing, if that's something they are going to bring back to try to, get more shit in our eyeballs. But we don't need any more of their shit in our eyeballs. Monday Night Raw, for the most part, if you take the logic into account, you take the creativity into account, and you take the in-ring action, which was pretty solid, and put it to the side, was just another big old poop hammer, especially since it is the home of Lashley and Lana, and Eric Rowan, and Jerry Lawler, and things like this ridiculous gauntlet match. It's like they don't know what to do, so hey, let's pull out the gauntlet match. It worked for Seth. So stupid. Thank you guys so much for enduring another Monday Night Raw review with me. Hopefully those sons of bitches at the WWE do not take this video down. There is nothing within the last 46 minutes that we have done that is owned by them. All right, there is no WWE content other than us talking about their garbage content on this screen. This layout was made by me. It is a cheap, man-made ripoff of a WWE-inspired background. This logo is not the just generic WWE Raw logo. It is altered and manipulated by me to be different, so you don't own that 100% either. And I even had to hide poor Blue. Poor Blue, he's sad, man. Look, he's sad. He's off to the side. He's afraid to show his championship belt because it's got the big logo. And now it's kind of stupid that I did that because I got the little logo right here. But whatever. You know what? Fuck it. Blue, come on out and say hello. Everybody, Blue has been here the whole time. You know that. And I'm getting a little delirious because it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. We're sitting here, New York City time, East Coast in the United States. And I am in the midst of the craziest work week of the year. So it's going to be an interesting week of reviews because I'm going to be tired as fuck as we do each and every one of these. My work week gets retarded. So if the schedule for the uploads gets a little bit wonky, please forgive me. I get to them as soon as I possibly can. I get them up to you. But when it comes to Raw and it comes to SmackDown, I am always here Monday and Friday. The pay-per-views always get reviewed. Sometimes AEW gets pushed to Friday, but for the most part, we are here with AEW's Wednesday night. And if I have the time, I will promise to get back on the NXT train. It's just, first of all, they've been pretty good, so there's not too much for us to talk shit about. And when I feel like I talk about when I feel like there's nothing bad to talk about, I feel like this show is not as good. But we will start to maybe get on that. I'm working on something a little special for you guys. I'm going to do some real hard work on it this week because I do have a little bit of free time, and I'm going to try to get that out to you guys. And hopefully you enjoy it. It's not going to be one of these long, whole me talking for 45 minutes about a show or thing, but it's going to be pretty special, and we're going to talk about some cool stuff, and I hope to see you guys here for that. A way for you to not miss it is to make sure you are subscribed. So if you enjoyed today's show and you had a fun time and you agreed with anything I had to say, or I made you laugh, or I made you cry, or I made you think about something you didn't think about before, all you need to do is hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and then bash that thumbs up and let me know you had a good time here today. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if maybe they thought Monday Night Raw tonight was a little bit too good and they're sitting there in their high horse going, oh, did you see how great Monday Night Raw was? You'd be like, oh yeah? Here's a poop hammer for you. Right in the head. And don't forget to get your poop hammer t-shirts and your Sledgehammer TV logo t-shirts at bonfire.com/store/sledgehammer-TV right now. My name, ladies and gentlemen, is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. Don't forget to check out everything else we have here for you guys on the channel, and don't forget to be here for everything else we got coming as we are bringing 2019 to a close and are going to hit 2020 with a rocket pack strapped to our back as we continue to take over the YouTube wrestling community one subscriber at a time, and it starts with you. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.